Hello, my beautiful magical beings! Okay, before this video starts, this video does have a trigger warning for slight mentions of abuse and trauma, and there is a bit of drama that has to do with that. And if you're not comfortable with that, that's perfectly fine. Just click off the video. Just, skip this one for now. And this is Bakugou X listener, and the listener is Kirishima's twin. And without further ado, let's get into this, shall we? You sat on the bed of a barely furnished dorm room, reading. You didn't have much else to do, since you were going to classes tomorrow. You had been accepted into UA about a week ago, but you had arrived a couple days late because, well, you had to get ready and everything. But you were here now, and besides, why go socialize when you had a perfectly good book right in front of you? But there was another reason. You had hephophobia, or the fear of human touch. You had developed this fear after an abusive relationship left you traumatized, scared, and alone in a dark closet. Until your twin brother found you. Until Ijiro found you. You and Ijiro Kirishima were twins, and it was kind of easy to tell. You had the same black hair that he used to have. But other than that, it was kind of difficult. You were so absorbed in your book that you almost didn't hear him knock on the door. "Who is it?" you said. Your brother's peppy voice sounded from the other side of the door. "Who do you think it is? It's me. Open up." You told him he could come in, and the door opened. He took one look at you and shook his head in disapproval. "Seriously? You're reading? On a beautiful day like this? Come on, come hang out with me." "Shouldn't you be out here socializing?" he questioned. You rolled your eyes. "You really think I want to go out there and socialize with a bunch of boys?" you said, grinning. "Ugh, whatever," Kirishima sighed and flopped down onto your bed. "Look, I know you're not big on a lot of social interaction, but come on, it could be fun," he said, peering over your book at you. "Hey, I have an idea. Why don't you come meet my friend Bakugou? I think you two would get along perfect." "Really? You told me he was explosive and angry, right?" "Yeah, and you can be that way too." "Hey," he said, and shoved him off the bed. Ijiro landed with a thud on the floor. "Oh, that hurt. Come here," he said, and he grabbed your foot that was dangling off the bed and began to tickle you. You protested for him to stop through bouts of high-pitched giggling, and soon enough, Ijiro was laughing right along with you. After a couple minutes, the two of you regained your composure, and a bell sounded overhead. You looked at each other with unified annoyance at the sound, which meant Kirishima had to leave. He got up, brushed himself off, and went and gave you a gentle hug. "Gotta go. See you after class," he said, and left the room. You were grateful to have him in your life. He had been there for you. He had been there for you through all the therapy, the sleepless nights, even through the worst of it. You were so glad to have him. Then you went back to your book. It seemed to drown out the rest of the world. You now stood outside the door to Class 1A, trying to stay calm. Your heart was pounding, and you were slightly shaking. Ijiro stood next to you, trying to calm you down further. "Just breathe, okay? Remember what I told you. They're gonna love you. Who wouldn't? You're my sibling." You took a deep breath and opened the door. You had heard Mr. Aizawa mention your arrival to the class. Even though he had addressed it, it still didn't make you feel any better. And the second you walked in the room, the whole class went dead silent. You could feel your heart begin to beat faster and faster and faster. But you heard a noise that drew you away from your thoughts. It was a scoff and a sigh. You turned and looked to the back of the class to find a boy leaning in his chair. He had dusty blonde spiky hair and bright red eyes. And you assumed that was Bakugou. But you didn't believe it until You heard what he said. Great. Another extra, he sneered. At that moment, the fact that everyone was staring at you didn't matter. He didn't have the right to call you that. Who are you calling an extra, you little angry Pomeranian? You said, your voice full of sass and confidence. Everyone in the class gasped in unison, including Bakugou. No one had ever stood up to him like that. But before he could retaliate, Mr. Aizawa told him to cool it and for you to sit down. He took a seat next to Idro, who gave you a fist bump. You leaned over and whispered, "Is he always like this?" Idro rolled his eyes and smirked. "Yeah, but you learn to get used to it, you know?" The rest of the lesson went on without any major problems, until it was time for you to leave. Bakugou stopped you just outside the classroom. "You think you're real funny, don't you, extra?" he sneered. He stood in your way of leaving, and, well, it was kind of annoying. But then he quickly grabbed your wrists and pinned you up against the wall. Instantly, a wave of panic swelled in your chest, and you couldn't breathe. You could feel the walls getting closer and closer and closer, and you began to hyperventilate. Horrible memories came flooding back into your mind. All you could hear was him. All you could see, you could hear his voice talking to you, belittling you, tormenting you. You started to cry and scream. "No, no, no, leave me alone, please." Bakugou let go of your wrists in shock and confusion. You fell to the floor and immediately covered your ears, sobbing louder than before. Then, with seeming gentleness, someone's hands lightly grabbed yours and pulled them away from your ears and just held them. "Shh, it's okay. He's not here anymore. You're safe." You could tell it was Idro's, but he still couldn't calm down. "Hey, open your eyes. Look at me." You opened your eyes to find Idro's face looking at you with concern. Then he wrapped his arms around you and pulled your head down to his shoulder. You squeezed the back of his shirt and cried. All your emotions were flooding out of you. It was a horrible feeling. You didn't want to hear him. You didn't want to see him ever again, but what Bakugou had done had sent you partly over the edge. Bakugou backed away from the two of you, completely bewildered. "What's their problem?" he asked, annoyed. But deep down, he was really concerned. "They have hephaphobia. They're afraid of human touch," Idro said, as he kept holding you close. After a few minutes, you had calmed down for the most part, and had gotten up off the floor. But you still held onto Idro like a child would to a stuffed toy. Today had been a bad day. A really bad day. But at least you had Idro to calm you down. Idro slightly pulled away from you, and you looked up at Bakugou, your eyes red and puffy from crying. He looked away and rubbed the back of his neck. "Hey, sorry. I didn't know. I just didn't expect anybody to, stand up to me like that. It was kind of cool. It took guts. I think I like you." "Huh?" You looked at him confused. Then your face turned a bright shade of pink, and you hid behind Kirishima's shoulder. And in realizing what he had said, Bakugou's face turned the same shade. "It's not like that. Jeez. Don't be so dramatic." Whatever. "Hey, dumb hair, you coming?" Bakugou said as he began to walk away. I'll be with you in a bit, Bakugou. Just give me a couple minutes," Idro said, and Bakugou stood at the end of the hall. Idro turned to you. "You okay?" he said, rubbing your forehead. You chuckled slightly. "I'm fine. Thanks. I'll just I'll let him know about it, okay? I think the class needs to know about that too. Yeah, you said quietly. You knew they'd have to know about it at some point. After that, the rest of the day went on pretty normally. Some of the girls came to help you refurnish your dorm, and it was nice. And you ended up telling them about your phobia and how you would prefer not to be hugged or just touched, really. And they agreed that it was fair enough, and you were glad to have made some new friends. You left your room a little later, and you bumped into Bakugou again. Upon seeing you, his face turned bright red as it had before. Are you okay? He asked. You were kind of taken aback. You didn't expect him to sound concerned for you. Yeah, I'm okay. Well, welcome to UA, I guess, he said, outstretching his hand. And then he pulled it back. Right, sorry. You don't like human touch. I get it. Thanks for, trying to understand, I guess, you said, rubbing the back of your neck. Yeah, whatever. I'll see you later then, he said, and he began to walk away. As you watched him leave, you could feel a different emotion, different feelings. Your stomach was fluttering, your heart was pounding, and you could feel blush crawling across your face. Was this love? Were you in love with Katsuki Bakugou? No, you couldn't be. Right? And guys, that is it for part 1 of this series. If you guys want to see more, please let me know down in the comments. I love you guys. You guys are so incredible, and I hope you have a good day. Yeah.